Edward, what did Boris Johnson and Ursula von Leyen actually say today? Because it's sort of like, when is a deadline not a deadline? It wasn't Sunday. So when is actually the expectation as to what these sort of fresh, momentum in the negotiations can bring?
Sunday was really important because it was the day when, if the talks were going to break down, they would have broken down. And what Boris Johnson and Ursula von der Leyen agreed to do was go the extra mile and spend more time to get a deal. Now, they haven't put a deadline on that, but in practice it means they've got a few more days now for officials to patch together a deal. Don't forget, the one deadline in this process that isn't changing is December 31st. That's when the Brexit transition period ends and Britain will leave the EU's single market. Now, what seems to have happened since Wednesday night's frankly disastrous dinner between Johnson and von der Leyen is that negotiators have really looked over the precipice. They've seen what would have happened in the event of a no deal, and that's forced them to think again and to dust off some ideas and to start thinking again. And in particular, we have a proposal coming through, appears to be the outlines of a proposal on the level playing field that some officials are encouraging, making noise about that it could be enough to get them over a line. Could be, and just to stress, it could still all fall apart at this stage.
So explain to us what's going on with that level playing field, not to mention perhaps access to fishing waters. What are the key disagreements here?
Those are the two real obstacles to deal with. Now, the level playing field is important because the EU is terrified that Britain will have basically tariff and quota-free access to the single market and not be bound by its rules, things like social rules, environmental, labour standards, that sort of thing. And in doing so, the UK companies would have a competitive advantage over their European competitive rivals. So what they are determined to put in the agreement is the provisions around a level playing field. And that's to ensure that there is fair competition between the two. Now, originally, the EU had demanded the right to take unilateral, automatic action and impose trade penalties if the UK didn't change its standards over time to keep up with whatever the EU decided. Now, of course, the UK wouldn't have a say in what those rules would be or any control over them, but that would be the price of having access to the EU's single market. Now, what's happened in recent days is that now the EU seems to be accepting that any adjustment, any retaliation will only come after arbitration and a dispute resolution process. Now, the UK, it seems, might be willing to accept that as long as it retains the sovereign right to legislate as it sees fit. Now, that is where the discussions are really focusing now. Can they get this key disagreement? There's dogged these talks for 8 or 9 months now. Can they get an agreement on that? And if they do, you then move on to fishing, which is an argument about numbers and who gets to catch how many fish and what species of fish. That's really the last argument to fall in place, and then query you could possibly get to a deal.
Edward, we're sounding like a broken record asking when is a real deadline, right? Because you take a look at the muted reaction in the FX market, and it looks like sterling's expecting an extension into next year.
I think what you could see, what is clear is that the transition period ends on December 31st, and Johnson has been very clear that there will be no extension to that. So what you may be seeing is some wishful thinking on the parts of some that maybe, again, this will be another of those Brexit deadlines that can be extended. That would require unanimity on the EU side and the British government to want it. And I think, given Johnson's position, that looks pretty unlikely. What could happen is, and this is a big question now, you've now got a matter of days before the end of the year. And there's a question of, can you implement whatever you agree? Can you implement it in time? And so there could be a question of whether the businesses, and certainly what they want, is to see a grace period, so a period of time where they can adjust to whatever the changes will come when they come.